The night sky above Earth looked quiet, but far beyond the stars, something strange was happening. A whole alien fleet was lost in deep space. Their ships were huge and bright, but now they floated powerless like birds with broken wings. The aliens were called the Volari, and they were proud travelers of the galaxy. For centuries, they never asked anyone for help. But this time was different. A storm of cosmic radiation had struck their fleet. Engines failed, shields cracked, and food supplies dropped. Thousands of Volari lives were at risk. The Volari sent out a desperate signal. They chose one direction, one planet, one hope. That hope was Earth. On Earth, the signal was first caught by a small radio telescope in Africa. A young woman named Amina, a science student, heard the strange voice. It was not human. It was not machine. It was something between a cry and a prayer. She ran to her professor shouting, "This is not noise. This is a message. Someone out there is asking for help." The message spread fast across the world. Governments, scientists, and even ordinary people listened. The words of the Volari were simple. "We are stranded. We need you. Humans, will you answer?" For the first time in history, humanity faced a choice. They could ignore the call and stay safe on their small blue planet. Or they could step forward and prove that humans were more than just earthbound creatures. Leaders met in secret rooms. Some were afraid. "What if this is a trap?" they asked. Others were hopeful. "What if this is our chance to reach the stars?" But while the powerful debated, ordinary people made their voices loud. They marched in streets and held signs. "Help them. We are not alone. Answer the call." In small towns and big cities, children drew pictures of starships and aliens holding hands with humans. Farmers said they would send food. Engineers said they would build machines. Doctors said they would heal. It was a strange moment. The world, divided for so long, began to feel united by a single voice from the sky. And in that moment, Earth made a choice. Humanity would not turn away. They would answer the cry of the Volari. The question remained, could humans really save a fleet of stranded aliens lost among the stars? The story of courage, fear, and hope was just beginning. The decision was made. Earth would send help. But helping was not easy. The Volari fleet was far away, trapped beyond the safe routes of space. No human ship had ever traveled that far. Scientists worked day and night. They studied the alien signal, searching for star maps hidden inside the message. The Volari had shared their location. But it was in a dangerous zone of space, filled with radiation storms. Amina, the young woman who first heard the call, was invited to join the team. She sat with world leaders and space engineers, her heart beating fast. She was only a student, but her discovery had changed everything. Can humans even reach them? Someone asked. "We must try," Amina said softly, "because they asked for us and no one else." Around the world, people worked together like never before. Engineers in Japan built stronger engines. Farmers in South America prepared special food packs. Doctors in India studied alien biology to guess what medicine might work. Pilots from many countries trained for the first rescue mission in human history. The Volari sent one more message. It was not of words, but of images. People saw their broken ships floating in silence. They saw children with silver eyes and glowing skin, thin and weak from hunger. They saw a mother holding her child close, her eyes full of fear. The world gasped. The aliens were not monsters. They were families. They were alive, suffering, and waiting for help. The rescue ship was named Unity-1. It was built in record time. Its hull was strong, its engines powerful, and its crew ready. Amina stood at the launch site, waving as the crew prepared to leave. She whispered, "Please bring them home." When Unity-1 left Earth, billions of humans watched the sky. They did not see just a rocket, they saw hope rising. But the journey was dangerous. As the ship moved closer to the Valari fleet, the crew felt the storms. The radiation shook the ship, alarms screamed, and power dropped. Captain Lewis, the leader of Unity-1, shouted, "Hold steady. We did not come this far to fail." Finally, after weeks of struggle, the human ship saw them the stranded alien fleet. Shining weakly in the dark, the Valari ships blinked with faint lights like candles about to die. The humans had arrived. The rescue had begun. Unity-1 entered the zone of silence where the Valari fleet drifted. The crew looked out of the windows and saw hundreds of alien ships. Some were broken in half, some floated without power, and others were completely dark. Captain Lewis gave the order, "Open the channels. Let them know we are here." The signal was sent. At first, nothing happened. Then a single alien ship lit up. A weak light flashed again and again. It was a signal of hope. Inside the alien ship, the Valari watched the human vessel with wide, silver eyes. They had almost given up. But now they saw help. Their children pressed their hands against the windows, staring at this strange but strong human ship. The humans moved quickly. Engineers worked to connect power lines. Doctors prepared medical kits. Food packs were moved to shuttles. Every second mattered because the Valari were weak and fading. Amina's voice was sent from Earth to the aliens. "We came for you. Hold on. You are not alone anymore." The Valari replied with a trembling voice. "Humans, we thank you. You came when no one else would. But danger was not over." The radiation storms grew stronger. The human ship's shields began to weaken. Sparks flew inside the control room. "Captain, if the storm grows worse, we cannot stay long," shouted the engineer. Captain Lewis clenched his fists. "We are not leaving without them." The crew worked with burning courage. They repaired the Valari ships one by one. They transferred children and elders onto Unity-1, where doctors cared for them. The aliens were fragile, but they smiled for the first time in many months. One Valari child looked at a human pilot and whispered, "You are heroes." Still, time was short. The storm screamed louder, shaking every vessel. The Valari ships that could not be saved were left behind. But the humans promised to carry their survivors home. Finally, with great struggle, Unity-1 pulled away from the dying zone, towing several repaired alien ships behind it. When they broke free from the radiation, storm cheers filled the air. Humans and aliens cried together. Amina, watching from Earth, saw the live feed. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She whispered, "They made it." The rescue was not only about survival, it was the birth of trust between two species. Humans had proven their heart. They had answered the call. The story of that day would be told for generations when humans saved a stranded alien fleet. Unity-1 returned home, pulling the rescued Valari ships behind it. The journey was long, but this time hope filled the air. Humans and aliens shared food, stories, and laughter. For the first time in months, the Valari no longer felt like shadows drifting in the dark. On Earth, people gathered in every city to watch the broadcast. Giant screens showed the human ship approaching with the alien fleet. Children waved flags. Old men prayed. Women cried with joy. Humanity knew they had done something no one else dared to do. When Unity-1 entered orbit, cheers shook the world. The Valari ships hovered near Earth's skies, glowing faintly with repaired lights. The people below whispered in amazement. They had seen aliens before only in stories. But now those stories had come alive. Captain Lewis spoke to Earth. His voice was firm, but full of emotion. "We answered the call. And we will always answer, no matter who needs us." The Valari leader stepped forward on the screen. Her silver eyes were bright with tears. "We were dying, alone, forgotten. But the humans came. You carried us out of the storm. You carried us into life again. We will never forget." Crowds erupted in cheers. The moment became history. Humans had not only saved lives, they had built a bond that no storm could break. In the following days, the Valari walked among humans. They bowed to farmers who gave them food. They thanked doctors who healed their wounds. Children from both worlds played together, laughing without fear. The Valari gave gifts, strange glowing crystals that could power homes for 100 years. Amina, the scientist who first sent the signal, was honored. She stood beside the Valari leader as friends, both smiling. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Together, we will go farther than ever before." And so it began. The story spread across the galaxy. Other species heard of the day humans saved the stranded fleet. They whispered a new name for Earth's people, the rescuers. The humans had not been the strongest or the richest, but they had been the bravest. They stepped into the storm when others stayed away. They gave hope when hope was almost gone. And that is how history remembered them, not just as humans, but as the ones who answered the call of a stranded alien fleet. Months passed after the rescue, but the story did not fade. Across Earth and the stars, people spoke of the moment when humans answered the call. Songs were written, statues were built. But more important than the fame was what followed. The bond between the Valari and the humans grew stronger. The Valari taught humans many things. They showed how to grow food in zero gravity, how to heal wounds with light, and how to read the language of the stars. In return, humans taught them how to endure hardship, how to laugh even when life was heavy, and how to keep fighting when everything seemed lost. Dad, Captain Lewis often walked through the Valari settlement built near the coast. Children ran up to him, both human and alien. They called him the captain who came in the storm. He smiled every time, though he said quietly, "It was not just me, it was all of us." One evening, Amina stood on the cliffs and looked at the sea. Valari leader joined her. The sky was glowing with two moons, one Earth's and one alien ship hovering like a star. "We thought we were finished," the Valari leader said softly. "But humans gave us another tomorrow." Amina nodded. "And now we must build that tomorrow together." But even as peace grew, a shadow appeared. Signals were detected from deep space unknown ships, moving fast, carrying weapons. They were not friendly. Both humans and Valari knew what it meant. Someone out there had noticed the rescue. And not everyone was pleased. Captain Lewis gathered his crew. "We saved them once. Now we must protect them. If danger comes, we stand side by side." Valari leader agreed. "We will fight together for life, for hope, for the promise you gave us." And so a new chapter began. Humans and Valari prepared not for rescue this time, but for defense. The stranded fleet was no longer weak, was alive, rebuilt, and united with Earth. The galaxy would soon test this bond. And the story of humans, once just a small people, on a blue planet was only starting to grow. Because sometimes the greatest journeys do not end with rescue. They begin with it. The warning of approaching ships became real. One morning, Earth's deep space sensors lit up with red alerts. Dozens of unknown vessels were crossing into the solar system. They were heavy with weapons, moving in tight formation. Captain Lewis stood in the command room of the orbital station. His voice was steady, but his eyes were sharp. "They are not here for peace. They are coming to test us." The Valari leader, standing beside him, gave a slow nod. "These are the Dravik. They are scavengers of the stars. They hunt the weak. They must think we are still broken." But the Valari were no longer broken. Their ships had been repaired, with human tools and human hands. Their engines burned brighter. Their weapons were reforged. And now, they had Elysiuman pilots who had trained side by side with them. The world prepared for its first battle in space. Cities dimmed their lights to save power. Families held each other close, watching the skies. Farmers in the fields whispered prayers. Children pointed at the stars, asking if their fathers and mothers would come back. On the day of battle, the human fleet rose from Earth's oceans and deserts. Ships that once carried satellites and cargo were rebuilt into warcraft. The Volari joined them, their shining silver vessels gliding like blades of light. The Dravic fleet appeared with a roar of engines, black and sharp as knives. They spread across the dark like a storm. "Stand ready," Captain Lewis said. His voice echoed in every ship. "We fight not for conquest, but for life. We fight for tomorrow." The battle began. Beams of fire cut through the dark. Explosions bloomed like suns. Human pilots shouted warnings to Volari captains. Volari gunners shielded human ships with their cannons. Side by side they fought as hours passed. The Dravic were fierce, but they had not expected humans to be so strong, so stubborn. They had not expected the Volari to rise again. At last, the enemy broke. Their ships scattered, retreating into the void. The sky grew quiet. Again, dot on Earth. Cheers rose. The world had seen its first great war among the stars, and it had survived. The Volari leader turned to Captain Lewis. "Today, we were not just rescued. Today, we stood tall." Lewis looked at him and nodded. And this is only the beginning. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had shown it was ready. The victory over the Dravic spread across the stars like fire in dry grass. Other alien races who had once watched humans from far away now looked at Earth with new eyes. They no longer saw only a small, young world. They saw a force that could not be broken, but the battle had left questions. Why had the Dravic come? Why had they been so certain the Volari were still weak? The answer came weeks later when human and Volari scouts found wreckage drifting at the edge of the system. Among the broken Dravic ships lay something darker, black box carrying a signal. When decoded, it showed a map of star systems. The Dravic were not acting alone. They were testing Earth for someone far greater, far older. Captain Lewis stood with the Volari leader as they studied the signal. "This was not just an attack," Lewis said. "It was a test. Someone out there wanted to see if we would fall." The Volari leader's eyes dimmed. "The true enemy has not come yet. The galaxy is watching to see if we are ready." Earth's leaders gathered. For the first time in history, every nation spoke with one voice. No longer was the sky just for dreams or satellites. Now it was a shield that must be guarded. Humans and Volari worked together day and night. New shipyards grew above the oceans. Stations were built around the moon and Mars. Old divisions of race, flag, and border began to fade, replaced by a single thought. We survive together or we fall alone. Children in schools studied stars as if they were neighbors. Farmers grew crops not just for Earth, but to feed allies in space. Pilots, engineers, and builders all found new purpose. One night, as Captain Lewis walked along the edge of the orbital station, he looked down at the blue Earth turning below. He remembered the fear of the first call, the moment when the Volari had begged for help. Now everything had changed. Humanity had answered that call, and in doing so, it had stepped onto a larger stage. The Volari leader joined him, silent for a while. Then he spoke softly. "We were saved by humans, but more than that, we were reminded of hope. Together, we can face whatever comes." Lewis smiled. "Then let them come. We are ready." The stars stretched before them, vast and endless. And for the first time, humans knew they were no longer just visitors of the galaxy. They were its defenders.